My name is Corbin Jones, and this is my live demonstration for Project 2 of Cloud Native Architecture and Microservices. So um, here I have my code base pulled up in VS Code. I am still working on my automated customer onboarding system for my rock climbing gym. What you'll see here is the same in Chester.py and customer notifier.py, or roughly the same as the um, previous iteration for project one. Couple differences. Each of these now have their own Docker files that allow Docker containers to be built, as well as Kubernetes manifests for both the service and deployment um, using a AWS service mesh. These Kubernetes manifests um, allow for the containers to be deployed using AWS Elastic Kubernetes service. And then there is a requirements.txt file that contains all of the different pip dependencies for the Python applications. The final important piece of this is my GitLab CI pipeline. So this uses a custom Alpine image that has Docker, AWS CLI, and Kubernetes all installed, and then it uses din so that way I can, which is Docker and Docker, so that way I can run Docker commands from the CI pipeline. It connects to my Elastic Container Registry, which is the AWS service I've used for storing these Docker images. It's going to go ahead and log in, and then this automatically builds each of those, both the container and notifier containers from those Docker files that I just showed, and then it's going to push those to the Elastic Container Registry. Then the deploy step is going to update my EKS cluster and then apply the Kubernetes manifests with the latest containers. So this makes it so whenever I push a change to any of these files in my repository, this will automatically build the containers and deploy them TCR so that way the application is automatically updated, which is super nice. So with the code out of the way, walk through quickly each of these services and then a live demonstration. So I have, using Elastic Kubernetes Service, I have a customer onboarding Kubernetes cluster here. It's got a maximum of 2 nodes, and so it uses 2 different nodes to support high availability there. And then I can show those once we get to the EC2 phase. The next part of that is Elastic Container Registry. So I have both an ingester repository, so you can see uh, my ingester image I pushed just a few minutes ago. And then as well for customer notifier, images are also pushed to this private repository. Next service, this is the same as before, but I'm using Amazon SNS for notifications. So whenever a new customer is onboarded, an email is sent to my personal email for right now, but in production, in reality, this would be sent to the rock climbing team. The Kubernetes cluster is deployed on a virtual private cloud that allows all the services to communicate with one another. Um, and then I'm using Amazon MSK. So this is the managed Kubernetes or managed Kafka service. Rather than deploy my own Kafka service like I did for the first project, this takes out the overhead of having to deploy it myself and allows me to focus on the business logic for the application. So definitely wanted to make sure I was using a managed Kafka service and incorporating that feedback I got on the first project. So thank you for that. And then as far as the EC2 instances go, I have my test EC2 instance for running the demonstration, and then the 2 different nodes that are being run by the Kubernetes cluster. So those are in different availability zones, contributing to that high availability, and then also running in that VPC, virtual private cloud. The final thing that I'll show is my GitLab repo here. So quickly going to the repo, you see all of the different folders that were reflected in my um, VS Code along with the GitLab CI pipeline. And then we can actually go ahead and take a look at these pipelines. You can see it took a little bit to get it running, but there is a build stage which successfully goes through and builds both of those Docker containers. and then the deploy stage successfully deploys um, the new Kubernetes pods with the manifest there. So, and I've gone ahead and added you um, to my repository, and then I've configured the repository to be in private settings to comply with the requirements there. So it'll only be accessible to the two of us. Quickly walking through a live demonstration here. This is my test EC2 instance where similar to before, we can go ahead and send a post request for the purpose of the demonstration. I'll um, change the email address to Jones, and then we'll call this Corbin Jones Jr. um, and go ahead and send a post request. So the post request is going to go to the ingester. Similar architecture as before. The ingester ingests the JSON request, sends the message to Kafka, which um, so the ingester is the producer, and then the customer notifier is the consumer of Kafka in this instance, and that's going to index the database. So it'll add this user to the database, and then it is also send a notification to my email address via AWS SNS. So if I go ahead and submit this request, you can see that it was submitted successfully. And if we log into our database quickly, um, we can go ahead and look at our customers table, and you can see a couple of demo users that I was testing with, and then Corbin Jones Jr. with Jones, and then a slightly different timestamp, but that was added recently. It looks like it's just not synced up. It's a little bit ahead there, but you can see that 47 lines up with when we're recording the demo. And yeah, this connects everything there. And then I'll also quickly show the Kubernetes pods running two different, both the customer notifier and the ingester here are running as pods. Uh, and this is using the AWS CLI to log in and look at the EKS cluster here. That is my demonstration. Thanks.